So I am going to turn this over now. Nice mask, Carly. I'm going to turn this now over to Carol to introduce our guest. Carol, take it away.
I'm so pleased to introduce Carly Robbins, who I'm sure many of you know, and she's spoken with us before, but I've had the honor of working with her as a board member and on fundraising committees and capital campaign. And we are in the home stretch that has stretched out for a long ways. And Carly has continued to keep us in the positive spirits and persisting through all the interesting challenges we've had. A couple things about Carly you may not know that I found pretty interesting in her bio is, Carly is a former performing arts theater manager with a BA in Critical and Visual Studies from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York. And she certainly does bring a variety of marketing and event planning experience to Food for People. As she mentioned earlier, she's past president of Rotary and Eureka and assistant governor for Eureka Rotary Clubs. So I can speak for myself and all the board members and staff. The staff is just amazing at Food for People, and Carly's a real important part of that whole project, and she keeps the wheels going. So thank you so much, Carly, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. Thanks, Carol. So I can talk, or I do have photos if you want to give me controls to share. Sometimes it can be nice to see what we're doing instead of just staring at my face. All right.
Give it a go. It should work now.
Okay. Does that look right? Can you see that?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Okay, great. So, excuse me. So my idea for today was to just give a general update on, oh, it paused. Hold please. Okay, great. So just give an update on what Food for People do, and then talk about the big thing on at least my mind and probably Carol's, which is the rebuild of our facility, which has been taking up a lot of our mental space in the last few years. So I don't think it's been too long since I talked to your club, but I'll go through what we've been up to. So when the pandemic hit and when we lost the use of our main facility, we had to change a lot of the model of how we were working. And one of the main ways we've done that is to move to entirely outdoor distributions primarily, whether that's outside of the facilities we used previously, or like you see here, doing a big pop-up distribution in a parking lot or some other area we can find. It's a model that's worked really well because we're very limited on space already, and also helped us keep, COVID protocols as safe as possible, which is something we've really been trying to do to keep our staff safe, clients as well, as I'm sure everyone has noticed in the last few years. If a couple people are out at work, it can really throw things into a whole hectic new world. So keeping everyone safe has been one of our primary goals, and it's been working really well. We saw an uptick in need for services when the pandemic hit. We went from serving about 12,000 individuals every month to now 16,000. And we haven't really seen that number go down. We go through fluctuations depending on time of year, depending on what is happening legislatively, or if CalFresh benefits are delayed or changing, which has happened several times throughout the year. So, our staff takes it in stride and expands and contracts as needed. One of the other things we've really been trying to do is expand, it's not only food that people need when they come to Food for People. If you're in the spot where you need a little assistance with food, there's lots of other things that can come in handy. So we've really been trying to focus on expanding not only the foods we're offering, which we have been, but doing things like making sure we have diapers on hand for families, things like formula, baby food. You can see here, this is a big pop-up distribution we did last month at the Eureka Mall parking lot, and we were able to give out toilet paper. And I can't tell you how many people stopped in line to tell us exactly how wonderful that was and how much we're appreciative for that. So being able to expand in those small ways has been really heartwarming, but also really good for everyone that we're serving. We've expanded our programs in the last few years. One of the main ways we've done that is we actually created a position who I'm hired Robert, who you see here, and he's our emergency food response coordinator. Before that, it was kind of an all hands on deck whenever there was an emergency, be it wildfire, anything else. But in the last few years, it's become so commonplace to go from one disaster to another. We really needed someone to focus on that. So Robert has helped us from fire response to winter storm response, which was a new one for us this year. We had lots of people get snowed in regions of the county, not have, be able to get out to get more food, and also not be able to cook food because they lost power for prolonged periods of time. So we worked with our partners from Pay It Forward Humboldt to Red Cross and lots of other organizations to make food available. Made sure that we had instant hot meals available. I'm sorry if you hear my dog going off. That's one of the drawbacks of working from home. But so making sure we're able to help in all those instances, get food to the people who need them, and hopefully food that is accessible and needed. If you can't cook, those pantry staples aren't going to go very far. So having things like food you can just add a little water to and it becomes an instant hot meal became really important. So we've been expanding on that. We've also been reaching out to new partners. So in the last year, we've expanded to regular distributions in partnership with the Wiyot Tribe for the first time ever, which is wonderful, as well as the Bear River Rancheria. And we've been working with other, amazing local groups in our area. Just recently, we partnered with the local Lao and Hmong communities on a distribution for people specifically in that community. And we've been working with our other partners like Centro del Pueblo and others to make sure that we're really meeting people where they're at and where their needs are. So those partnerships have been amazing and really helped expand what we've been able to do and the number of people we've been able to reach. I already talked about fire response. This is a photo from the most recent fire response, which feels like years ago, but was really only about 5 months ago. So working through that. As you can see here, these are all of the regions in the county that Food for People serves. We really try to make sure that our services are reaching all aspects of the county, up Oric, Orleans in the north, down to Garberville, even places like Whitethorn. So distribution in every community looks a little different. Some places don't have a full food pantry, like you think of here in Eureka. In Dinsmore, we have a pantry that is on the same day every single month, and it's at a mile marker. Just come, pop up distribution, people know where to go. So even if there aren't facilities, we're making sure we have ways to reach people in those communities. Our senior programs have continued. We have a lot of amazing partners in this. We serve about 700 seniors, I think, every single month. Right here, this is, I think his name is Pat from the Healy Senior Center in Garberville, who comes and picks up food directly from us. But we also have an entire network of amazing volunteers who come to Food for People, pick up food and deliver it to homebound seniors and other individuals in the community. That's one of the key roles that Carol has been playing with Food for People for many, many years, and is so vital to make sure that we can reach everyone who might not be able to make it to us. So thank you to Carol and our entire network of senior volunteers. And as you all are, I'm sure, very aware of, our Backpacks for Kids program continues on. It's been a very vital program through the pandemic. I guess it's now endemic. I saw California is now calling it endemic. So we've been really happy that we've been able to continue that on. In the last year, we've been working on expanding some of the foods offered, getting a little more variety in there, while also trying to make sure it is a bag that kids can physically carry. We got some feedback they were getting too heavy, so we're trying to ride the balance there, make sure that we're getting food to kids that they want and need and also can carry home. And one of the things we've done in the last year or 2 years is change up how we've done our summer food programs for children. A lot of the schools stepped in when the COVID hit and started doing a lot of food services in the central areas, Eureka, Fortuna, Arcata, McKinleyville, which was amazing. So what we did was focus on the areas that were not being reached. So the more rural areas like Garberville, Southern Humboldt, out to Willow Creek, Hoopa, those regions. So what we've done is kind of pilot a program that's very similar to Backpacks for Kids, except it's a box of food that's supposed to last the whole week for the summer. And children are signed up in these regional areas and get this box weekly through the whole summer. So when they don't have access to those key programs like free lunches at schools or Backpacks for Kids, they still have access to some nutritional assistance. So that's been a really great program. We've had nothing but positive feedback on it. So it's definitely a model we are hoping to maintain into the future. And then other major updates for Food for People. As some of you may know, when our main facility became unusable, we moved into the old Eureka Chamber building down on Broadway. And the hope was that that would be our home until our new building was built. And at the time we were hoping that would be done within a year, but that has not proved to be true. The pandemic and all sorts of other factors have meant that our program, our rebuild is taking longer, which meant that we also had to find a new home for our Eureka-based food pantry. So that will be moving at the end of March into a new location. So the Eureka Pantry is moving from Broadway to Cooper's Gulch. So wonderful that we found a temporary home for our pantry until our rebuild can be completed. It's very close to bus routes, which is wonderful. It's close to Open Door, everything in the Beret Center. So there are a lot of positive benefits to the new location. And, you know, we hope the community will come out there. It's a little bit of a shift, but really grateful to the City of Eureka for helping us find a temporary location, and for our staff and volunteers who are helping us figure out another move. So if you know anyone in the realm of the world who this might impact, please help us get the word out. We'll be moving into the new location and opening on March 29th. So that kind of leads into the major topic, which is our rebuild. So for anyone who's not familiar, February of 2022, we experienced a city sewer inundation in our main facility, which was pretty significant. Several thousand gallons of sewage water into a food bank facility is not ideal. So after that, we talked with professionals. We worked with these amazing people at New Life Services, as well as Greenway Partners, and determined that the smartest way forward would be to rebuild instead of just fixing the existing damage. The damage was so extensive, it was going to cost a lot of money to fix. And we knew that the building had its issues to begin with. So rebuild was decided to be our best move forward. So that's what we've been working through. If you've driven past our old 14th Street location in the last year or so, you will see it is no more. It is a vacant lot now. And we've been working with Greenway Partners and Pacific Builders to get to a point where we can start construction. It's been longer than we had hoped, but lots of positive things are coming out of it. We're going to be entirely changing up the footprint of the building. One thing that was really limiting in the last facility was that we had simply outgrown it. We didn't have room to expand, to add programs, to add food. The pantry, if you had ever been in it, was very cramped, hard to manage if, say, you were in a wheelchair or had kids with you. So we've really taken all of that into consideration when designing the new facility. We are going to be going much higher up. So we're taking advantage of as much vertical space as we can. So we'll be able to palletize a lot more food. We're expanding cold storage. So we'll be able to take in and offer more fresh foods. Building a nutritionally balanced diet is something we always try and stress. So this will really help in those ways. And it will include a larger on-site choice pantry where people can shop through for things in their nutritional diet. So people who might, I don't know if anyone is familiar with a choice model, but it means people can come through and based on a point system, shop for foods that fit their diet. So say if someone's diabetic or has other food needs, or simply there's food that we would be giving them that they just aren't going to use. It cuts down on food waste and it makes for a more dignified experience for people coming to the food bank. So we're going to be expanding on that. this is what our building will look like when it's up. We're very excited. In addition to the cold storage added space, we're also building in capacity for disaster response. As I mentioned, it's become a bigger and bigger role in what Food for People and frankly, food banks across the nation are doing. So making sure that we have the flexibility to expand, contract, and respond as needed to the disasters was a primary concern when we designed the new building. So that's about where we're at. I can thankfully say that we finally got permits from the city just last week, which is really exciting for us. We've been waiting a long time to get to this point where we can start construction. And hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have all of our subcontractors locked in after they do any revisions based off of our permitting and be able to start construction next month, which is wonderful. So we're really excited for everything this is going to offer Food for People, for the people we serve, for our partners. There are a few drawbacks. Our project has increased in cost, unfortunately, as everything in the last year. Construction prices have gone through the roof, is probably the best term I can think of. From when we started building this or designing this building, our estimated costs have gone up by 45%, which is a pretty big increase. So also wonderfully, I can say we've had a really strong turnout from our community. We've already raised 5.7 million towards making this happen, which is wonderful. Next week, I'll have the actual concrete budget, but it's looking like we have maybe another 300,000 to raise to get to where we need to be to make this happen. So really, really thankful to our community, to our amazing board volunteers like Carol, who have really pushed through to make this all happen. We're very excited for when it will become a reality. And we're hoping in the next year, as we work through the rebuild and are ready to move in right before the new year, that we will also be able to raise the rest of the money needed to make this happen. So I'll leave it there and open it up for questions. I can stop sharing.
Thank you, Carly. I always, when I hear your presentation, I always feel just feel a little more secure that we have a community that is working really hard to do what needs to be done to make sure people have food, and that Food for People, we can trust and count on you, but also that Food for People is our community food bank, and that we all play a role in this, and we all need to step up when we can and support what you do and support initiatives and policies that look at food for people, literally. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand so that I can see who wants to talk first. Anybody have any questions for Carly? Or comments? You do such a good job of presenting that it's somewhat challenging to think of what hasn't she told us that we want to know about.
Hopefully I didn't put anyone to sleep.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. When is the move to Cooper Gulch? That was a question that came up.
Cooper Gulch. So yeah, that is, we're going to be moving out of the current facility on March 25th and reopening at Cooper Gulch on March 29th. So at the end of this coming month.
Great. I have a question focused on older adults. What kind of needs are you seeing in addition to that have come up during the pandemic that you might need extra support or help with in that area?
That's a good question. For our senior population, we've moved. One of the biggest moves we did was mostly, we still do some drive-through distributions for specific senior populations, but we've been doing door-to-door distribution for most seniors. which was a model we had already established, but we far expanded on. And that's been one of the biggest benefits to them. And we've been doing surveys to see what foods, they like best, what foods work best. So we're cutting down on food waste because that is a pre-bagged drop situation. So there's a little less choice available in that. But, a lot of the feedback that we get is, those easy to cook protein items like eggs and cheese are always really appreciated. Also being able to expand on things like toilet paper, like those, small things that's harder to make happen are really good, especially for people who have a harder time making it out to go shopping for themselves. So those are some really important ones. We work with a lot of other organizations too with our senior programs, from Humboldt Senior Resource Center. We work very often with Maggie at Area 1, and we have a great relationship with Resolution Care as well to get food out to seniors. So yeah, it's a really good partnership. And I think, they appreciate any expansion we can do. Maybe Carol has some insight too, since she serves seniors directly.
Yeah, I will say, in addition to bringing food, I've been driving and serving some of the same seniors for years. And seniors are challenged with being socially isolated, and the pandemic has really accentuated that. And so I know in my role, just checking in and chatting, I think is hand in hand another really important service that volunteers do for our seniors. That's really important. And so I feel good about that. And I just got to say a shout out again, the staff at Food for People are just heroic. And as many of you know, Ann Holcomb, who's been the director, we got to get this building built for her, before she retires. So it's just an amazing staff that deserves our honor and support. So
thank you.
Absolutely. And do you have enough volunteers? I know when the pandemic hit, people had to stay away or chose to stay away. Are you feeling like you have enough volunteers right now, or can you use more? What's the situation there?
Yeah, we definitely saw a dip early pandemic with volunteers. Understandably, a lot of our volunteer base were in, for retirees in kind of the age bracket where they were advised not to be going out. So we lost a lot of volunteers early on. We've kind of built that force back up to where we have a pretty good, steady, regular force of regular volunteers right now, but we do have lots of opportunities coming up, especially if anyone's interested in kind of like group volunteer opportunities. We have some food sorting that needs to be done. And at least as of right now, we'll be doing our big letter carrier food drive come May, which is usually a big one-day food drive event where all the letter carriers in our area, they deliver bags a couple days ahead of time, encouraging people to fill them up, and then they come pick it up a few days later and deliver it to Food for People. And that's a really big all-day event where we get lots of volunteers out to help us process all of those donations and get them all ready for distribution. So we got lots of opportunities for people if anyone's interested in volunteering.
That's great. Carol, do you think you could, when that date is confirmed, maybe bring it back to the club and we can see about getting a group of volunteers to go and do that?
I'll be sure the club is aware of that and bring that back.
That's great. Yeah, because that's a good hands-on. And I saw John talked about gleaners. Could you tell us about the gleaner program? I don't think a lot of people know about that. I've used it before and gotten you hundreds and hundreds of apples. So tell us about that.
Yes, so gleaning, it falls under our local food resources umbrella, which is our efforts to, access local foods and make sure they're being put to good use. So gleaning is where we go out to backyard gardeners, people with orchards or just a couple apple trees, and all of our farmers, and harvest excess produce. So anything that people say they're not going to use, we have volunteers who will go out, harvest that produce and bring it back to the food bank so that we can get it out through all of our programs. It's really strong. It's kind of the downtime right now just because it's, less harvest season in the wintertime, but come spring, summer, it's really going to ramp up. And Maggie is right. Apples are one of the biggest things we get at the food bank, which is wonderful. So if you have any excess produce in your own garden or someone else, and it's gonna not get used. We always have that time, at least in my own garden, where we have far too many cucumbers to ever consume. So anything like that, you're welcome to bring to the food bank, or if you need a little extra help harvesting it, you can give us a call and we'll get our volunteers out to harvest. It's a wonderful program. It helps cut down on food waste. We have a lot of amazing local farmers here who really take advantage of it, and we get a lot of food from that program. So it is wonderful. And then also, this is almost at the tail end, but I might as well mention it. We partnered this year for the second time with Humboldt Cider Company. Sometimes we get so many apples, or apples that aren't fit for distribution, that we were looking for alternatives instead of just having to waste those apples, pay the fees, and have all of that go to waste. So any apples that can't be used in our programs are being taken to Humboldt Cider, and they did a special run of cider called Cider for the People, and works out for them. And then we get a portion of those proceeds back. So if you're at one of the local grocery stores and you see their limited release label, pick up a can. It's pretty good, and we get a little bit of that money back.
That's great. That's great. Any other questions or comments for Carly today? All right. Well, thank you again so much for all that you folks do, and all that you do in your spare time with Rotary. Appreciate it. And in your honor and for thanks. Oh, Dustin, you have your hand up. Where did it go? Whoa. Dustin, did you
no, I just wanted to recognize Carly not only for what she's doing for Food for People, but her tireless efforts in Rotary as well. She's a club member. She's an assistant governor. She's on the district conference planning committee, and she's got a great history with Rotary as well. So Carly, kudos to you. Glad to have you on the team, and thanks for being at the club today.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me.
You bet. You're welcome here anytime. It's always interesting and to hear what's going on at Food for People. And in your honor, we are making a donation to the Wheelchair Foundation, and to make sure that people who need wheelchairs have access to them. And want to thank you for that.